The Lone Rangers? That's original. How can you pluralize the Lone Ranger?
What's wrong with that?
Well, there's 3 of you. You're not exactly lone. Shouldn't you be the 3 Rangers?
No idea what you're saying right now.
Welcome to Something Crunchy, the Valley's #1 comedy entertainment podcast. Biscuit is homies with Blake. Blake is the older brother of Blair, and Blair is married to Biscuit. Here are your hosts, Colin Blake with Blair and Tyler Dressel.
All right. Welcome to Something Crunchy. I'm Colin Blake. With me, as always, Blair and Tyler Dressel. Thank you for joining us by way of 97.3 The Rattler, or wherever you get your podcast. We have such a crunchy guest joining us tonight. He's an actor, writer, director, and producer who you know from shows like Criminal Minds, The Simpsons, and Barry. Movies like The Godfather III, Airheads, and Searching for Bobby Fischer. Please welcome Joe Mantegna.
Hi, you guys.
Thank you for joining us, Joe. We are so excited to have you on. How have you been?
You know, I've been pretty good. There were no complaints. My day job's a little bit on hold due to the labor situation going on right now, but hopefully that will get resolved and I'll be able to help save the world in my pretend way on television. I've been doing for the last 17 years or so.
We love that. And at least it frees you up for other opportunities like coming back to visit the Valley on Friday the 13th through the 15th, where you're going to be doing some personal appearances at Total Wine. We're going to be talking about Senor Rio Tequila here soon. First, football is back on. Baseball is heating up. Your Cubs are in second place in their division. Will they make a late season run?
Boy, you know what? I've been a Cub fan for so long that I learned years ago not to hesitate to even make any predictions at all about the Cubs. In fact, I don't even pay attention till the end of September because I've had my heart broken too many times in the past. But thank God for the 2016 season. But I just this past year I spent time at their first time at the spring training at in Mesa, and that was just so wonderful. I had such a wonderful time there, and be able to be part of that whole the Cub organization there, and that city, being a displaced Chicagoan myself, I felt like I was as close to being in Chicago while being out in in Arizona.
Seriously.
As one could possibly be. There were so many like expatriate Chicagoans living in that area because of the Cubs. So anyway, I no predictions yet, but I'm hoping for the best. That's all I can tell you.
See, that's great. And as Cowboy fans, we have not learned that lesson. Still, every single year, this is our year. And you know what? I haven't said it this season yet. I'm just going to go ahead and throw it out there. I do think this is our year. I'm feeling very good.
You just cursed.
I just need to put it out there just so it's been said.
Okay.
But anyway,
okay.
So you're an EP and co-host, if you will, of a podcast as well, Hollywood and Ivy, where you interview celebrity Cub fans. And there's such a large supply of celebrity Cub fans.
Yeah, it's run the gamut. We've had a bunch of wonderful guests already. Gary Sinise, Gary Cole, Bonnie Hunt, Jim Belushi, Billy Corrigan from the Smashing Pumpkins, and I've got people lined up like Vince Vaughn and Bill Hader and Eddie Vedder and Bob Newhart. All these different people that want to do it, and we'll get to them as well. So that's been a lot of fun because it brings out the child in all of them. It's funny, those of us in this business. We do these kinds of interviews all the time, as you know. You talk about your occupation, your business, but boy, when you start tapping into their childhood sports heroes, all of a sudden everybody turns into a kid again, and it's like, oh yeah, they can't wait to talk about it and tell these wonderful stories that relates to that. So it's been a lot of fun.
It's true. You're exactly right. You could see it on their faces. Have you been to any games this year?
Yeah, I try to throw out the first pitch at least once a season, and I was there right after Memorial Day weekend. I've been for 22 years now. I've been hosting the National Memorial Day concert in Washington D.C. And what I try to do is right after the concert, usually right on Memorial Day, I fly to Chicago to visit family, and then also the Cubs usually have me throw out that first pitch of that one of those days right after Memorial Day. So I was there for that again this year. And, certainly enjoyed doing that. And
That's cool.
And so, we'll see. Hopefully that brought up some good luck going into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yes. At Wrigley, you like the suites or the seats?
Well, I've done it both. Whenever I throw it, and I also sing the seventh inning stretch every time I'm there.
Wow, that's such a big deal.
That Harry Carey tradition, yeah. So I do that, and I always start it by saying from the bleachers to the box seats, because I know them all, because I've started going to the bleachers when I was a kid and a young man, and worked my way up to some of the better seats up close. You know what I mean? So
of course.
So I've done it all. I've gone bleachers, grandstand, box seats. It's all good.
So legendary announcer for the Cubs, Harry Carey, kept a journal of all 300,000 of his alcoholic beverages over his life. Do you have a collection of anything of the sorts?
Oh my God, no! I mean, I hope to build quite a booklet of Senor Rio products over the coming years, but no, I mean, Harry was a unique individual, as we all know, and so. Yeah. I don't think that may be a record that's going to stand for a long time.
Yeah, it could.
Well, you have such a unique and special voice. I mean, it was so fitting that you played a DJ on Airheads, which was perfect. What was your inspiration, or have you done any other broadcasting?
Well, it's funny. No, I hadn't really done any broadcasting, but
Really?
When you mentioned my inspiration, there was a DJ out here around the years when we were making that movie. It was called Jed the Fish. His name was. He was very popular on the big rock and roll station. I think it was K-Rock here in LA. And so they set me up with him for like a couple of days to be kind of, for me to just shadow him, and because he kind of embodied a lot of what that character that I was able to put together. And as an homage to him for doing that for me, I named the character Ian the Shark. Because Jed, it was known as Jed the Fish, so I had them tape a little plastic shark on the microphone, the people who watched the movie, and the reason they call me Ian the Shark, but just as an inside joke among them, it was my homage to Jed the Fish, because I learned so much of just hanging out in that control room and spending a few shifts with this guy and seeing what that world is of being a DJ. And he had the fitting personality for a guy that's going to like broadcast rock and roll, that kind of hardcore rock and roll over the airwaves. So I had a lot of fun, as you can imagine, doing that movie.
That is such a fun fact, and we just live for the behind the scenes stuff. And that's such a cult classic. Did you see Airheads becoming the cult classic it turned into being while filming?
Well, you never know what it's going to be like. What's funny is while I was shooting Airheads, just as that ended, I had to fly to Chicago and work on a scene from the next movie I was doing, which was Baby's Day Out, which was another kind of a wacky, kind of a more comedy-oriented film.
Loved it.
So I was literally jumping between being Eddie in Baby's Day Out and being Ian the Shark on Airheads. So that was that particular summer into fall was a fun time for me, because just doing those movies back to back was
so good.
Kind of
Blair is glowing here.
I really am.
She was very excited about the Baby's Day Out factor.
I'm not going to mention it unless you do, but obviously I was a big fan.
Yeah, everybody I talk to of a certain age, they'll say, "Oh, I love Baby's Day Out," and I say, "And I know your favorite part was when my pants were on fire." And then
obviously,
the guy stomps on me to put it out. It's that, or when the gorilla grabs me. So I got punished a lot in that movie.
You did. You kind of got thrown around a little bit.
Great opportunity to show some range. But yeah,
exactly.
In Airheads, you had Sandler, Buscemi, Frazier. These were not huge blockbusting names in 1994. They each turned into big stars. But at the time, did it just seem like a bunch of buffoonery?
Yeah, it was. I knew Adam a bit because I had hosted Saturday Night Live. I'm thinking about it. I wonder if I hadn't hosted it yet. I'm trying to think if this was before or after. I can't even recall now. But anyway, as you're correct in saying that. It was a conglomeration of interesting types and guys that were, some of them they were obviously careers were really on the upswing. With Steve and we got Oscar winners coming up in terms of with the Whale film that came out just recently, but with Brendan. But it was such a good time. Every day was a good time on the set. All those different characters, as you can imagine, a lot of ad-libbing going along. Especially
I can imagine.
guys like Adam Sandler on the set. He was just as much fun off camera as he was on camera. He was pretty much a lot of the instigator of a lot of it. And what was interesting to a lot of people, I mean, this dates me a little bit, but the script was written by the son of Fabian, the rock and roll, well, if you want to say rock and roll, but certainly rock and roll singer of the 60s, who was in the movie, North to Alaska, had a wonderful singing career back then, along with Frankie Avalon and Bobby Rydell and guys of that. So the script was written by Chris Forte, and his dad is Fabian Forte, who was a major rock and roll singer in his own right. So that was interesting.
Oh, that's cool.
I didn't even catch that connection with Sandler and you being on SNL and during that same time. Since you bring it up,
yeah, I'm trying to think. I hosted it, and I hosted the show, and I believe it was 91.
And what
it was either 90 or 91
episode that was. Bill Swirsky, the Superman skit. This became such a hit. It took on a life of its own. You were hosting SNL. You were a part of the original skit. You even trained Chris Farley on how to get his Chicago accent down.
I did. It was because it was like, Robert Smigel, who created the bit. He wasn't from Chicago, but he knew that I being from Chicago, we thought, this would be funny to do a skit based on those kind of Bear fans. Oh. And so for me, it was like, this is a no-brainer. The Bears. This is the way I talk anyway. And so and I remember when we were getting ready to do the skit, I think Chris came up to me, and I loved Chris. He was also in Airheads, as you well know. That's
right.
Yeah.
And he came up to me and said, hey Joe, how would a Chicago guy, say these lines, like this? And I said, well, Chris, and I kind of gave him a few tips about, that, these, thems, and those, that, tree over tree, those tree guys over there would be how you would say those three guys over there. And so he took that and ran with it. And of course, in his inimitable Chris Farley way, was, brilliant in that, as he was in everything he did. Wonderful, wonderful person.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Such a memorable skit. Oh my God.
Really was.
Yeah, and it was funny as I went to Chicago, sometime afterward. And I remember when I went to Chicago, all of a sudden I'm seeing billboards around the city that were saying, the Bears, the Cubs, the Bulls, the Paul University. I mean, everybody was, it was like resonating, and they would replay the skit on radio and stuff like that. And I thought, wow, okay, the city certainly have embraced this little skit here, and so that was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Which do you enjoy more, comedy or drama?
It's I love it all. I mean, I just feel blessed to have had the career I've had, where I've been able to kind of, be able to do certainly a cross section of both. I mean, it all boils down to the quality of the material. I mean, if you're doing a great drama, there's nothing like it. And if you're doing a great comedy, there's certainly nothing like it as well. And who you're working with, and I mean, I feel very blessed, because look, I what I do for a living is what some people, I'm sure, when they go to bed at night and say, I wish I could be da da da. You know what I mean? Like I always said that the best professions in the world are to be a professional athlete, a rock and roll star, maybe an astronaut, or a professional, working actor. But the actor is the best of those four, because you can play the other three.
All the parts. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I never forget that. I never forget that, because I've done that. I've played athletes. I've played people in rock and roll. I've played, people in law enforcement. I've played guys on the other side. I'm Fat Tony on The Simpsons. Yes. I mean, I've run the gamut of kinds of characters that I've played in my over 50 years of my career. So I feel very, very blessed. And I know that, if you did a survey of all the people on the planet and you said, hey, would you trade places with a guy like that? There'd be a lot of people would say, yeah, I would do that. And I get it. And I never lose sight of that. And that's why it's so important to me to be, at least try to give back with the fans and everybody else, in a sense of, look, I don't forget that I'm one of the lucky ones.
Well, that's such a humble perspective. And you are a very esteemed performer in film and in theater. And many do think of you as a dramatic actor first, but you have contributed to some memorable comedic projects, Three Amigos, Airheads, Baby's Day Out. Does it bother you at all when you get recognized for these roles, like Blair here?
No. Now, usually I try to guess. It can depend by their age and or what they're about, sometimes what they're going to say. Like if I'll be in like, especially if I'm going, let's say I'm in New York and I'm in Little Italy, without question, there are going to be people yelling, "Hey, Joey Zaza," from Godfather III, something like that. Or if I'm going to see guys that really look like they're rockers from the, whether the 70s, the 80s, whatever, it'll be like, "Hey man, Airheads, hey," and stuff like that. So and then of course there's the Simpson fans who are that's all they want to talk about
yeah.
is gonna be Fat Tony. So no, none of it bothers me. I mean, if I let that bother me, then I'm in the wrong line of work. You know what I mean? Because this is what I hope to do. I enjoy what I do, but to know that other people are getting appreciation from it and they've enjoyed it, and maybe because I know it's for me. Look, I look at old movies. When I got my star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame, they let you put it where you want it if there's an empty space available.
Ooh, really?
You know what I mean? Because it's not every star is filled up. A lot of times there's an empty star next to or between ones that are already there. So I chose to be next to Errol Flynn because he was my childhood. That was my hero as an actor. I mean, the movie Robin Hood and Captain Blood and all of his films. So to know that my star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame is next to my childhood, actor hero.
How cool is that?
Does it get any better than that?
No, it doesn't get any better than that. And so for me, that's thrilling. So I mean, I'd like to think if there's somebody out there someday that says, gee, I really love Joe Mantegna's movies or TV shows or theater plays he did, then how wonderful is that? And so no, for me, I'm thrilled when anybody just says, because usually when they come on up to me, they usually have a smile on their face and they have a kind word. I don't get a lot of, "Hey, you, I hate you. I hate everything you've ever done." No, I've been pretty lucky that way. No, it's been all right.
Especially with some of these characters and some of these comedic characters will outlive all of us. They're cultural icons. You've mentioned Fat Tony on The Simpsons. You voiced him for over 30 years. We are obnoxiously huge Simpsons fans. And I heard you came up with that voice for Fat Tony in the efforts to avoid sounding like Joey Zaza.
I did.
Godfather III.
Yes, this is true because the movie was still playing when I did that because the movie opened in December of 1990. And I did that first episode, I think it was in February of 91 when they called me and said, "Hey, we've written this character. Would you be interested?" And blah, blah, blah. And of course I read it and said, "Yeah, it looks like fun. I'll do it." But then I realized, okay, I'm playing this mob guy, the head of the mob. And I'm saying, I've got this movie that's still out there where I'm playing exactly that character in Godfather III, one of the most anticipated movies of that time. So I thought, I can't sound just like him. I don't want to be where they're going, "Oh, that's Joey Zaza as Fat Tony." So what I did is I had my dear Uncle Willie, who has been one of my dearest relatives all my life because my dad passed away when I was fairly young. And so my Uncle Willie was kind of like the guy I took with me everywhere. He was my running partner up until, he lived into his 90s. And, we were kind of joined at the hip. But he talked like this. This is the kind of voice that he had. And so I thought to myself, you know what? I'm just going to use Uncle Willie's voice at this one at the recording session. And unless they tell me to stop, I'm just going to keep doing it. And so I did. Nobody said stop. And so we finished the episode. And to tell you the truth, I just thought it was a one-shot deal. I thought, okay, they hired me to play this character in this episode. I got away with it. I played Uncle Willie. He'll get a kick out of it. Then, of course, a few weeks later, I get a call. "Hey, we like that character. You want to do another one?" Jump cut to today. I've been doing it for over 30 years, as you said, and I'm still doing it. So,
and it's the longest running television show in the history of television.
Exactly right. So, I mean, sometimes things work out,
And what a good character.
And Criminal Minds is right up there too. So I feel very blessed. I feel like maybe I'm good luck around these kinds of shows. Who knows?
Good luck charm. That's right.
Syndication star.
We have an exciting product to discuss with ties to Arizona, no less, an artisanal small batch tequila brand that also supports a very important cause. Joe, please tell us about Senor Rio Tequila and the We Care Foundation.
Yeah, Senor Rio. I mean, this wonderful woman, Debbie Medina Gatch, who had started this company with her then husband, over 14, 15 years ago. And she lives out, she's out there in Arizona. She's out in the Mesa area there. And it's such a wonderful story. If you go to the website, you go to senorrio.com, you kind of get a snapshot of kind of the whole thing. But here's this woman who had this Mexican father who was not present at all in her life growing up. He kind of took off. And so he contacts her from Mexico. she had an American mother. He contacts her when she's an adult and says, "Hey, I'm your father. I'd love to see you. Please come to Mexico." And her attitude is, "Where were you all my life? I don't think so." But her boyfriend at the time basically tells her, "Look, you know what? This is your father. There may be some story here that you should at least know about. You never know. Let's go. I'll go with you. We'll go." They go down to Mexico. They go to Jalisco, where, the area where he lived. And now, of course, they get together. They start telling the story, and as they're doing it, he's giving her and the boyfriend this tequila that he's pouring out of like an old whiskey bottle, and they're drinking and going, "This stuff is terrific." And then the next morning, when they spent the night, they're drinking all night. They're not sick. They're not really hungover, and they basically she says to her father, "Now, what is this stuff?" And he goes, "Well, this has been in my family for 3 generations." And now, because here we've met again, we've made contact. I'd like to, if this interests you, to do something with this, recipe, or how we do this, how we make this, and this family recipe, it's yours. So then her and her husband, then her boyfriend, they get married. They start the company, Senor Rio. This becomes a business. They have children. She has a daughter who has these young girls, 2 grandchildren for her. Her grandchildren are special needs. I think they have cerebral palsy, so there's that. Then Debbie's boyfriend, who then became her husband, passes away. So now here's this woman who has started this company based on, her father. Her father had passed away as well. She's named it after him, Senor Rio, because his name was Rodrigo, and that's his symbol, his caricature on the stopper.
Mm-hmm.
So now here she is with this company, and she's been donating, part of proceeds to her charity that you mentioned, that goes to special needs children because of her grandchildren. But here she is, owns this company 100%, and feels like, my father's gone, my husband's gone, I've got my grandchildren who are like, this is, somebody that needs special attention. My daughter, my family. She's looking for somebody to kind of help her out, somebody to go into business with. So we get a mutual friend of ours named Jack Maxwell, who used to have a show called The Booze Traveler. I don't know if you were aware of it.
So that.
Yeah, it was a wonderful show. I think it was on the Travel Channel, I think, whatever channel it was on. But he would travel the world visiting places, like, here I am in Portugal where they make port, and or here I am in, wherever, in Germany, and we're going to go to the schnapps factory. Well, he got to know Debbie from doing that show, and they ran into each other, and she basically told him her story, like, "Boy, do you know of perhaps somebody in the show business that might be a good fit for me?" Now, I have a daughter with autism. She's 36 years old now, so I'm been very active in the special needs community myself.
Yeah.
So Jack, God bless him, said, "You know what? I think Joe Mantegna might be a good fit for you." And she thought, wow, that sounds great. She contacted me. We got together. I flew out to Mesa. I met with her, and I mean, she had me about almost when she said hello, because she's that kind of dynamic, wonderful person who had the wherewithal, spunk, and everything to take this, take the complexities of her life and start a business and go forward with it and try to even do good with it. So that's really how it started. And it's been an incredible kind of journey with her ever since, which has been a short time. It's a little over 6 months now. But I've already been doing some traveling. I've been doing Nevada, doing some of the stores there. I'm going to start doing some of the stores here in California. And as you know, I'm coming to Arizona in October, and can't wait to spend some time with you guys out there.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
And the strike is almost serendipitous. It's almost like been helpful, because I don't have to worry about my day job right now. I mean, right now I just want to spread the word about this wonderful small batch tequila. There's no additives, there's no flavorings, and then plus on top of the 3, the Blanco and the Reposado and the Añejo, versions of the tequila, she makes this thing called Cafe Elegancia, which is like this coffee liqueur. And to me, it makes Kahlua taste like a Pepsi. I mean, it's like, this stuff is. Every time anybody tastes the tequila, then I'll say, take a little drop of this Cafe Elegancia, just as a kind of an aperitif afterwards. And everybody will say, oh yeah, give me a bottle of that too.
I'll take that also.
So yeah. So anyway, I'm very happy and proud to be connected with Debbie and with this company, and hopefully we're going to do some good with it as well, because like I said, we donate $1 for every bottle we sell to her charity, which encompasses, special needs children. But I certainly know in Arizona and beyond.
And I'm sure she would say the exact same nice things about you. And I don't think you could have partnered with a better brand. We have the Blanco here as well, and it is very nice. We're not even big on tequila, but this is so smooth. And the aesthetics of the bottle are fantastic. It's a beautiful bottle.
Yeah, it's sharp.
And then we make these. We make a double barrel and then a special añejo. And both of those, if you go online and look at those, the bottles, they are like works of art. They're spectacular. I mean, Debbie has such beautiful taste and goes to every extreme to make sure everything is done right. Like I said, I've been around too long. I'm not the youngest guy in the building. I just don't want to attach my name or anything to something that I can't be proud of and say, you know what, this is something that I really think is terrific. It's the best I could do in this situation in terms of this kind of a product. Otherwise, why do it? I've turned down things just for that reason, because they'll say, hey, would you endorse this product and be part of it? Will you make you part of even of the company? But if I don't like the product, I can't do it. I mean, you can't be a hypocrite. You can't say, yeah, sure, I'll try to convince somebody else to do it, but I don't like it. I couldn't do that. So in this case, it's very easy for me to embrace it. And my wife, who's been, we've been together for over 50 years, since she embraced it and embraced Debbie to where she loves Debbie as much as I do, I knew it was a good fit, and I knew that this was the right thing to do.
You could tell you did your due diligence. Absolutely.
Oh, you have to. Hey, if you've been with the same woman for over 50 years, you better do your due diligence.
And you mentioned no additives or anything like that in the tequila. There's something in the recipe that keeps you from getting such intense hangovers, I hear. Is it what's in the recipe or what's not in the recipe?
It's a combination of it. I think a lot of it is what's not in it, because like I say, many tequilas, people will, and there's it's no joke or not, it's no surprise that there's a whole array of different tequilas out there, but many of them that people can drink and say, oh, this is really sweet, and this is kind of like, oh, this is nothing, but part of that reason is because they've added additives to it. They've added different kinds of sweeteners to kind of take away the harshness that's inherent in that particular tequila. But that's also the thing the next morning is why you're going to wake up going, and you're sick and you're this, that, because it's that mixture of, of the sweetness, the sugar products with the agave, which the agave in itself is almost, there's something mystical about it. I mean, I've always felt that. I mean, I'm not a heavy drinker by any means, but I've always felt that if I'm going to drink, what I like about tequila is there's something pure about that essence where it comes from the agave plant, as opposed to things like, whether it's your whiskeys, your bourbons, your, even whatever your drink of choice may be, there's going to sometimes be some complications, especially when you get into mixed drinks. But boy, if you got something that has that kind of almost mystical quality about it, in the same way that I start to think back when the original kind of, maybe the Aztecs or whoever it may have experimented with things like this, and there was something almost mystical about this kind of thing, and there's some truth to that. So I mean, I really do think it's partly the way it's done, the way it's made, the way the recipe, but the purity of it, and the fact that we don't try to adulterate it in any way. Let it speak for itself, and I think the awards it has achieved over the years and how well it's doing, I think, is a testament to that, and a testament to Debbie. And like I say, I'm proud to help her represent it.
Well, in your opinion, which bottle of the Senor Rio family pairs best with a cigar?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. You know what I mean? Again, that's probably a matter of taste. I lean a little toward the reposado myself.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. But the blancos, that's the pure essence of it. That's the tequila. That's just the straight distilled tequila from the plant. The reposado, we age that in cognac casks, which gives it that little undertaste of what you would get from the cognac cask being aged for, like 6 months in a cognac cask. Then you go to the añejo, do the same thing, but that's been aged for like a year. Then if you get into the double barrel, then we've been aging it in bourbon cask as well as cognac cask. So each one of them offers a different kind of notes, taste notes that you pick up on. But my feeling is I'm not one of those guys that go, oh yes, let's talk at length about all the different aspects of it. Either you like it or you don't like it. You know what I mean? And my feeling is like you said, you sip it, you go, you know what? This is good. This is smooth. I like this, and that's all. If you like it, you go with it. I feel that way about cigars. I feel that way about tequila.
Yeah, cigar wise, is your favorite still the Arturo Fuente Hemingway?
Without question. I mean, I am,
Classic.
you know, I am such a close friend of that family, Carlito Fuente. In fact, we have a sold out cigar dinner coming up just this coming weekend here
Wow.
in California that I'm hosting with the Fuentes. We have Carlitos coming in. Arturo Sandoval is going to be coming in playing trumpet at the thing. We got Andy Garcia's 13-piece band is going to be playing. So I mean, yeah, and it all and it wasn't. And again, I got to know the Fuente family only because when I was shooting the movie Baby's Day Out with those other two guys, Joy Pantoliano and Brian Haley, the three of us, the three knuckleheads that were the leads. On Saturdays, we shot the movie in Chicago because it was John Hughes' picture. So on Saturdays, we would go to this cigar store in Chicago. We'd all sit around and smoke cigars. So Cigar Aficionado, the magazine, found out about it. And they wrote us and said, we'd love to do an article about you three guys and the fact that you go and smoke cigars on Saturdays while you're on a movie set. So we did. We did the article. And of course, whenever they ask celebrities, what's your favorite cigar? Guys like to, I swear it is whether men, women, doesn't matter. They love to be able to say, oh, yes, I love this such and such Cuban. You know, but they want to be able to say they've got this Cuban cigar that's forbidden and nobody else can get it. But I spoke the truth. I said, you know what? My favorite cigar is a Fuente Hemingway. Classic, Hemingway classic. That's my favorite cigar. And I did that, and that's all. I said it. I spoke the truth, and then that was that. I never thought anything more about it. About a year later, I'm back in Chicago for another reason, and I'm in a cigar store. And when I'm in there, the woman who owns it, it's called the Up Down Staircase Cigar Store in Old Town in Chicago. And she says to me, she goes, "Oh, Joe Mantegna." She goes, "Do you know what? The Fuentes are in town. They're right next door grabbing a sandwich. They were just going to stop in. I bet they would like to say hello to you."
What?
And I says, "Oh, that'd be great." So she calls the restaurant next door and says, "Would you tell the gentleman there that Joe Mantegna is in the cigar store?" Well, they'll tell you the story. They came into the store. And I just thought, oh, this will be fun. I get to meet these guys that, you know, make the cigar that I like.
Sure.
They came in. Carlito Fuente looked at me and he went, "Joe Mantegna!" And he grabbed me and he hugged me like I was his long-lost cousin he hasn't seen in 100 years and said, "Joe Mantegna, we read what you wrote in Cigar Aficionado. You son of a gun. You said that we make your favorite cigar. You're not like all those Hollywood guys that say they like all that's Cuban." And they are Cuban. I mean, they're as you know, that's their nationality. They're Cuban. But they had to leave, you know, during the Revolution and had to go to the Dominican Republic. So, I mean, their heart is in Cuba, but yet here they were so proud of the fact that somebody was embracing their cigars and not touting the ones that are still, you know, that are being, you know, that the Cuban government is controlling in Cuba. So from that moment on, I was been joined to the hip with that family. And it's just been such a beautiful relationship because they're such wonderful, wonderful family. They have their own foundation. And that's why this cigar dinner, which I'm hosting, it's going to benefit the Carlitos, you know, foundation that he has for children in the Dominican Republic, and then I have the Mantegna Family Foundation that I've started for special needs, you know, individuals here in California and beyond. So
I just love that story. That's a great story.
Yeah,
and you have a filmography a mile long, and I can't believe it was Baby's Day Out that has your tie.
Yeah,
to
that was the one.
Family.
That's what did it. That's exactly right. That's what did it.
Well, a lot of people don't know you were a musician before you were an actor, a bass player, right?
Yeah, I was in rock and roll. I was in, you know, for about 5 years, I was in a band called the Apocryphals. And we were pretty well known in the Midwest at the time. I'm talking the mid 60s, from like 64 till like 69. And we used to tour with a group on occasion called the Missing Links, who then became, they changed names a few times and then became the band Chicago.
Yeah.
And so to this day, I mean, I'm still very, very close to that band. I just went and saw them when they were here at the Greek Theater just about a couple months ago. I presented them with their Lifetime Grammy Award. They had me do that just because they knew of my connection with them. I've known them well over 50 years. I mean, we're talking more like 60 years. We were all like teenagers back then. They're a little bit older than I am, but they were young men. Just most of them came out of Columbia College and DePaul and university, schools in Chicago area, and our band, we would play with them, and I got to know them very well. But then I got cast in the play Hair in 1969. Because I was trying to juggle the thing. I was making money as a musician, but I knew I really wanted to be an actor, so I was going to acting school. But then they had auditions for the play Hair in 1969 in Chicago. Something like 4,000 people tried out for it. Wow. I was lucky enough to get cast, and then I had to make that decision because now I'm going to be doing 8 shows a week, Broadway musical. I can't do the band as well, so that's when I knew I had to make a choice. But that's when Chicago's first album came out, and when that album came out, I said to myself, "We can't do that." My band, we were a good cover band, and we did well, and we were very popular. But there was no way we had the whatever it took to do that. And so I think that was the writing on the wall for me. I said, you know what, I'm going to step away from rock and roll and give this a try. And for a long time, I was saying to myself, I think I made a mistake because I was making more money in rock and roll than I did the first 4 or 5 years as an actor. But things finally worked themselves out.
You made the right decision.
But I still have a fondness for, and another band that grew up around us was a group called the Ides of March. You may be well aware of. Remember the song "Vehicle"? I'm a friendly stranger in a black sedan.
Yeah.
Well, that was a group that out of Morton West High School in Berwyn, and our band was out of Morton East High School in Cicero, right outside Chicago. And so that was another band that actually did go on to a good degree of success. And we used to let them kind of like hang out with us because they were a little younger, and we let them play tambourine and if we were making a record and stuff like that. So it all worked out. But I love those years. Those rock and roll years were just a lot of fun and certainly a big part of my life at the time.
Well, I am glad to hear you say that. We like to play a game on every episode and include our guest as well. Our Crunchtastic R&D department came up with something fitting for you. Some of the most well-known bands have come out of Chicago. And if you'll indulge us, I'd like to throw out a few clues and see if you can guess the band.
Okay.
All right. We won't use the band Chicago because that would be too easy, the connection.
Yeah.
But we'll start nice and friendly.
Okay.
This Chicago band was first known as the Salty Peppers. They had their beginnings in 1969 with songs that weren't a commercial success, but has since earned 7 Grammys as well as 4 American Music Awards.
Wow.
In addition to setting disco floors on fire, they are renowned for their versatility and ability to weave different genres into their songs.
Yeah, I think I got it. Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Earth, Wind, and Fire is correct.
There you go.
1 for 1. Sure. He's on the board.
He's feeling it.
I was thinking the Bee Gees. I was way off.
Oh, yeah. Bee Gees came from a place a little west of Chicago, like Australia.
A little bit west.
Yeah.
A little west of Chicago.
Also.
Way out west.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Once you have it.
Sure,
you
Earth, Wind, and Fire. In fact,
there.
they toured with Chicago a couple times, and I've seen them actually play with Chicago. And then we had a Chicago-themed restaurant, my wife and I, here in Burbank, California, for 16 years called Taste Chicago. And I remember when Chicago and Earth, Wind, and Fire both played together out here. I think it was at the Greek Theater. We catered for them at the rehearsal.
Wow.
And it was so great because we brought all the Chicago food, the deep dish pizza and the Italian beef and the Chicago hot dogs. And so to have the two bands all enjoying the Chicago themed food, and it was beautiful. It was
That's
great.
an event.
Great.
Wow.
That's a great group though, Earth, Wind, and Fire, absolutely.
They're great live too. I've seen them with
Yeah.
Tower of
Oh,
Power. I've seen them a
fantastic.
couple of times. Yeah, they're fun to watch live.
Fantastic.
Okay. This Chicago rock band was officially founded in 1972, but began when the Panazzo twin brothers played music with a neighbor 11 years prior. The band's breakthrough came in 1977 following the release of their album The Grand Illusion. It rose to number 6 in the US and Canada, and it contained their number 1 hit song. They boast an impressive collection of 17 studio albums, aside from their live and compilation albums. Any guesses?
Styx?
Styx is correct.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
okay.
We didn't even.
Yeah.
The clues get easier as we go along, but wow, you got that very end. That's Very
Yeah,
good.
no, I wound up. Their lead singer. We did a benefit for the Chicago Police Department some years ago at McCormick Place, and I got to meet him, and that's a wonderful band. But like I say, they were a bit younger than the crowd I ran around with at the time, and I was well out of the music business by the time those guys were at their peak. But I had such huge respect for them, and they made some wonderful musicians and a great band.
Showing his work here.
Yeah, you're killing it, Jeff.
All right, a couple more. Purveyors
Okay.
of power pop, or what's been called bubblegum bazooka rock, this Chi-Town band has released 20 studio albums and 65 singles. Their 1978 live album is considered one of the greatest live rock recordings of all time. In 2016,
Wow.
they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Their album Dream Police in 1979 is their greatest selling and highest charting album, soaring to number 6 on the U.S. Billboard 200.
Dream Police.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They invented the classic album concert, where they would play entire albums, every song in order.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
They produced
That-
such popular tunes as I Want You to Want Me, The Flame, That Ain't a Shame, and Surrender.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's not REO Speedwagon.
It's not, but in the same
Yeah.
realm.
It's funny. I'm thinking. I'm thinking. Trying to think of the name of the band, and I'm thinking I may not even have known that they were from Chicago, because like I said, it might have been from a little era that I wasn't
There's a
paying
lot
as
of
much
bands from
attention.
Chicago. This one
Yeah, a lot of.
was Cheap Trick.
I was about to guess.
yeah.
that.
Oh, there you
Can
go.
I have a guess?
Yeah.
Blair
That's
and Tyler
right.
don't
No,
know
I-
these. So if you have a
You
lifeline
know, I
here.
would. You know what? I didn't realize that they were out of Chicago, but then I think I might have heard that. Now that you mentioned, I'm thinking, I think maybe somebody wanted to mention. Maybe I thought maybe one of the guys was, but the whole band was out of Chicago. Is that true?
Yeah, I think so. I think
Wow,
so.
that's great. Okay, well, good for them. That's
Good for
God bless
them.
them.
I want
Right.
you to want
Yeah.
me. It was.
That was the one that got
my
you to-
tell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got a couple here. Let's do two more. All right. This three-piece fictional band was in LA, but has close ties to Chicago. The band had a moment of glory in the 90s with legendary Chaz Darby on guitar. Their biggest hit was Degenerated from 1994, made famous from their Live in Prison album.
Yeah. The Lone Ranger.
There's three of you. You're not exactly lone.
Yeah, I know exactly. I know I had the line. I get that line gets quoted to me a lot.
You have to get that line all the time.
I think that's one of the lines I get. People come up to me and say, "Hey, man, they're not exactly lone." And I go, "Yeah, that's right. Yeah, okay."
Yeah, you got it. You did it.
Yeah. You saw the film. Good for you. Good. Okay, I'm glad you.
It had to be done.
I'm glad you caught that
You couldn't
one.
resist.
Sure.
We have a couple options here. I'm not sure which to end on. Let's do. Okay. Another big name in the music industry that hailed from Chicago is this band, who's had great success producing pop rock ballads since the 1980s. Two of the most successful movie franchises of the 80s used them for theme music and a crunchy soundtrack. One of these theme songs became a #1 single for 6 weeks on the Billboard Hot 100 and won a Grammy Award. That song was Eye of the Tiger, and they followed it with Burning
yeah.
Heart, which slapped just as hard.
Yeah. Okay. Jim Pitterick, who wrote the song, used to be in the Ides of March and then went to Survivor.
Survivor is correct. Wait, did Joe just get a perfect game? I don't. No.
Cheap Trick. I didn't get Cheap Trick.
Wow.
But it got close.
That worked
but
out
yeah,
for everybody.
Well, when I mentioned that band, I told you that those guys from Morton West High School that used to come and we let them play tambourine, and they started the band the Ides of March. Their lead guitar player and lead singer, Jim Pitterick, who I'm still very, very close to, he went on with Survivor, and I think he basically, I don't know if he wrote the entire song, but Eye of the Tiger, I know he has writing credit on that song. So yeah, I knew about that one.
God, he just didn't know the answers. He's like, I know these people. I've hung out with a close friend of mine. I could call
see
him
you.
right now.
I raise you.
Well,
Yeah.
well,
And I win.
He owes me $100. I owe him $200.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for doing that, Joe. That was fun.
No, it was fun for me. That's great.
We really appreciate that. Well, you can stay up to date on everything Joe is up to and the causes he supports at joemantegna.com. And don't forget to check out Senor Rio Tequila. You can find out more information about the different kinds at senorrio.com. There's even sipping music you can play while you're there. You can find Senor Rio sold in stores like Bevmo and Total Wine. And speaking of Total Wine, Joe will be in town visiting 8 different Valley locations between October 13th through the 15th. That's Friday, October 13th through Sunday, October 15th at Phoenix Total Wine locations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
pleasure.
thank you for doing
Hey,
that.
no,
Joe.
I had a good time. It's fun.
We-
Sometimes these interviews are like, okay, another one of
Pulling
these.
teeth. Huh?
This was fun, man. No, I had a good time. This is great.
That's
I
good to
love to
And
hear that.
yeah, if you get a chance, please stop in one of those stores. You've got the dates, I'm sure. And
We did.
the dates
Oh, we
and times and all.
absolutely want to.
You're coming to one right in the neighborhood. You'll be there at noon on the 14th. We plan to be there. Come by and meet you and take a picture.
Please do that. We'll take photos, and that'll be great. I'd love to do that.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
I'll leave you with this because the reason I mentioned it, how cool that is. When I did the movie Airheads, they wanted stuff to dress the set with, just so it looked like I was a legit disc jockey. So I had to do these photo shoots prior to making the movie. And so I went on a photo shoot where I took photos with Kiss. I went and did a photo shoot with Ozzy Osbourne. And so, for me, that was memorable to be able to just show up at a place and all of a sudden Ozzy walks out and
So
goes,
those
"Hey, how you
weren't
doing?" We take a photo, and I'm dressed like my character. We take the picture, and that's on the set. And then I go meet the guys in Kiss, and they're in their drag, and we take a picture, and so that was fun.
So those aren't
Anyway,
manufactured, edited pictures.
you actually
took those pictures.
We know back then. I don't think they knew how to edit pictures like that back then.
Oh, I love that.
So yeah, no, those are the real deal. That was really me with those guys.
Oh,
So
I
it was a lot of
love
fun.
that. Well, we
Yeah.
sincerely
Anyway.
appreciate your time. We look forward to meeting you.
No,
at
my
Total Wine, North
pleasure.
Phoenix.
My
and
pleasure.
Yes, we'd like another bottle for the
I
studio.
was going to say,
here.
I'm going to need a bottle of the
Absolutely.
Senor Rio. It's
There you
absolutely
go. Well-
delicious.
Well, great. Well, I look forward to meeting you all in Arizona. Okay?
Likewise.
Thank
Thanks
you
again,
so
Joe.
much,
Have a great
Joe.
weekend.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks. What a guy.
What a sweetheart.
Okay, he was amazing.
I'm afraid I must insist. Where's the money? When will you have the money? Why aren't you getting the money now? That voice just...
So good.
Like, there's people that just know him for his stage work and theater productions. Like, he was talking about Hair, and others know him best as David Rossi in Criminal Minds. He's done near 300 episodes of that show.
My God.
Blair was like, baby's day.
3 words for you.
Biscuit was like, fucking Airheads. I'm like, Fat Tony. It'll be a cold day in hell when you tell Harry Flugelman what to do. He was in one scene of Three Amigos, and it was one of the best scenes. Just love
In the
that.
SNL skit, like everything
Yeah,
he does is
Blair.
incredible. I mean, come on.
He's got
Damn.
the golden touch.
He really does. Do you remember Searching for Bobby Fischer, where his son is a
Do
press
I?
prodigy?
Yes.
Press prodigy. I love that. That was Queen's Gambit in the 90s.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it was. Uh-huh.
That's good.
Money Pit?
Money Pit. I'm excited to meet him. Get some Senor Rio from Senor Mantegna.
This tequila really is like
From
delightful.
Senor Bevmo.
Yeah, that's right. Where's the bottle? When are you going to try the bottle? Why aren't you drinking the bottle now?
And he's like friends with the Fuente family. Like, does
Yeah.
it get any cooler than Joe Mantegna at this point?
Like, whoa.
Rock star friends with
Awesome.
everyone from
Tried to play a
Chicago.
game with bands from Chicago. And he's
Like, get out of here.
Seeing him tonight.
Yeah.
Owe him $200.
He owes me $100.
So good.
That's fun. New dream car giveaway over at 8080. In addition to the 15% off you get for using code CRUNCHY, every dollar you spend gets you entered in for a chance to win a brand new Lamborghini plus $60,000 in cash. You do not want to miss out. Nor do you want to forget to check out SomethingCrunchy.com, where you'll find every episode, our links for social media, and the Almighty Crunch Store, where you'll find all kinds of crunchy gear, showing that you are a proud citizen of Crunch Nation. Join us every Friday night at 10 o'clock on 97.3 The Rattler, or find us wherever you get your podcast. This has been another episode of Something Crunchy, and as always,
Don't ever forget to live your crunchiest life.
Be crunchy to one another.
Please don't forget to subscribe, like, follow, and all that crunchy good shit. All episodes can be found at somethingcrunchy.com. and on all podcast platforms. Thank you for listening.
I'm afraid I must insist. You see, my wife, she has been most vocal on the subject of the pretzel monies. Where's the money? When are you going to get the money? Why aren't you getting the money now? And so on. So please, the money.
You heard her. She said no.
Legs, Louie, advance on them.